Hello and welcome to this mini-series where we build a complete Guess the Number game using Godot. In Part 1, we set up the user interface, designing the layout, adding buttons, labels, and input fields, and styling them to look polished and interactive. In Part 2, we dive into the game logic, writing the code that powers the guessing mechanics, handles player input, tracks attempts, and determines when the game is won or lost. And in Part 3, we take it a step further by exporting the game to multiple platforms, including Android, Linux, Windows, and web, so you can share and play it anywhere. By the end of this series, you'll have a fully functional, cross-platform minigame and a solid grasp of how to build, polish, and publish a Godot project. Let's start by creating a new project. Name it Guess the Number. You can change the project's destination folder, just like I'm doing. I'm setting the renderer to mobile since my game isn't a complicated one. If you want to use version control, leave it set to Git, otherwise, change it to None and click the Create button. Let's switch to the 2D viewport. Next, for the root node, add a user interface node. When you click on it, Godot will add a new control node to the scene tree. Rename it to Main. Now, let's organize our project structure. In the File System panel, create 3 folders: Scripts, Scenes, and Assets. Finally, let's save our main scene. Press Ctrl+S and save it inside the Scenes folder. Next, let's add a color rec node. Set its anchor preset to full rect so it covers the entire screen. For its color, I'm using the hex code 1E1E1E. I'll be using 2 Google Fonts. So let's head over to fonts.google.com. I've included the link in the video description. Here, search for the Bangers font and click the Get Font button. Then, search for the Rubik Dirt font and click Get Font again. Once we have both fonts selected, click the Download All button. After the download is complete, extract the files and drag them into the Assets folder inside the File System panel. Now it's time to work on the visuals. First, add a center container to the main node. Set its anchor preset to center so it stays perfectly positioned. Inside the center container, add a VBox container. Then add a label node to the VBox container. For the label's text, type Guess a number between 0 to 100. Next, in the Inspector panel, go to Theme Overrides. Under the Font section, click the drop-down, choose Quick Load, and select the Rubik Dirt font we downloaded earlier. You'll see the label's font update instantly. Let's tweak the font size. 58 should look great. Now, open the Colors section and set the font color to the hex code C0, C0, C0. Finally, scroll back up and set both horizontal alignment and vertical alignment to center so the text is perfectly centered. We need a node to take a number from the player, so let's add a line edit node to the VBox container. As you can see, the input box is way too wide. If you check the layout options, there's no setting to control its width. That's because it's laid out inside a VBox container, which stretches its children horizontally by default. To fix this, add an HBox container inside the VBox container, and then drag the Line Edit node into it. Select the HBox container and set its alignment to center so the input field is centered on screen. Now go back to the Line Edit node. This time, the input box is too short, but in the Layout section, we now have options to set minimum size. Set the X size to 400 so it's comfortably wide for typing. But it's looking a bit too plain, don't you think? Let's give it some style. Head over to the Styles section in the inspector. Expand it, and under Normal, add a new StyleBoxFlat. Click on it to expand its settings. For the input background color, I'll use the eyedropper tool to pick the same color as our background. Next, set all borders to 1 pixel. To make the corners rounded, set all 4 border radius values to 6 pixels. Finally, set all margins to 6 pixels as well. Now the input field has a clean, modern look. I'm happy with how it turned out. Next, let's add a new button to the VBox container. Rename it to Submit button. In the Inspector panel, change its text to Submit. We have the same sizing issue as before. This time, I'll show you another way to fix it. Expand the Container Sizing section. Under Horizontal, set the Sizing option to Shrink Center. As you can see, the button now shrinks to fit its text. Finally, change the minimum size for the X value to 400 pixels. Now it matches the width of our Line Edit field. The button looks a bit too plain right now, so let's give it some style. First, add a StyleBoxFlat to the button's normal state. Open it to expand its options. For the button's color, I'll start with F0 and 0 to get a yellow tone, but that's a little too bright. Let's tweak it toward a warmer, more orange shade. Next, set all border radius and margins to 6 pixels, just like we did for the Line Edit node. Before changing the font color, let's update the font itself. Select the Bangers font and set its size to 32. Now expand the Colors section. Check the font color, and using the eyedropper tool, match it to the background color we're using. Finally, duplicate the Submit button and rename the copy to Play Again button. Let's update our new button first. change its text to play again. Next, let's duplicate our existing label. In the scene tree, drag the duplicate so it sits between the two buttons. Rename it to Feedback. Change its text to enter a number between 0 to 100. We'll use this label later to give hints to the player. Now, change its font to bangers and set the font size to 38. Next, duplicate the feedback label and drag it so it's positioned under the Play Again button. Rename this one to Tries. This label will show the player how many moves they have left. Change its text to 0/12. Set the font size to 22. And for its color, use the hex code 00CED1 for a nice turquoise tone. Now that all our elements are in place on the canvas, let's adjust the spacing between them. Select the VBox container and in the Inspector panel, expand Theme Overrides. Under Constants, set the separation value to 32. This will give our UI elements a bit more breathing room. Finally, save the scene and run the game to see it in action. When you press the Run button, a pop-up appears asking you to select the main or first scene to run. Choose the Select Current option. As you can see, everything looks good, except for the hovering and focusing effects on the buttons and the focus effect on our input box. So let's fix those next. By the way, if you're serious about building games with Godot 4 and want to master GD script from the ground up, I've created a full course that walks you through everything, step by step. Whether you're brand new to programming or you've dabbled before, this course is built to make game development fun, practical, and achievable. Hey there, I'm Okapi, your instructor and creative partner throughout this journey. You'll build a set of cool games, each designed to teach you core programming concepts while sparking your creativity. From puzzle logic to animations, object-oriented design to UI building, you'll gain skills that open the door to building your own game ideas. Let me show you a quick preview of what's inside. We start by introducing you to Godot and its native scripting language, GD Script. You'll set up your first project, explore the editor, and write your very first game logic. Next, we dive into syntax. You'll master printing values, fixing common errors, formatting clean code, and using essential lifecycle methods like ready and process. Now we tackle variables and data types. Learn how to store game data with arrays, dictionaries, enums, and even 2D and 3D vectors, all essential tools for real gameplay. Control your game's logic with conditionals like if else and match. These tools help your game react and make decisions, from menu selections to enemy behavior. With loops, you'll automate tasks and build smart systems, whether it's traversing lists or updating gameplay in real time. Functions help organize your code. You'll see them in action through your first full project, Pixie Realms, a simple platformer with animation, input handling, and goals. Godot's signal system creates dynamic interaction. You'll build a demo game menu and HUD, connect UI elements to code, and trigger win conditions with custom signals. Singletons, also known as autoload scripts, help manage global data and simplify scene transitions. You'll create reusable managers for scoring, scene control, and UI. You'll recap core concepts by building 2 minigames, Spectrum Catch and Rock Paper Scissors, reinforcing signals, UI styling, animations, and scene logic. Time to level up with object-oriented programming. You'll create custom classes, use constructors, inheritance, and organize nested logic for scalable code. Your final challenge is a full puzzle game, Minds Detective. Build a grid-based logic game with custom visuals, input handling, and win-loss tracking. This ties it all together. So, if you're ready to turn your creativity into something interactive, whether it's your first game or your 10th, this course is your launchpad. Jump into GD Script from scratch and start building. You can find the link to the course in the description below. Now, let's get back to today's topic and put some of those ideas into action. First, let's fix our buttons. If you remember, we already defined a style for the normal state of the button, and I want to reuse it. So, let's start by creating a new folder named Resources in the File System panel. Now, click the caret icon next to the StyleBoxFlat we previously defined and choose Save. Navigate to the Resources folder and save this style as BTN Normal. This way, we can reuse the style and skip a bunch of repetitive steps. For the press state, open the drop-down menu and select Quick Load. Then choose the saved BTN Normal resource. Do the same for the hover state. But this time, after selecting BTN Normal, open the drop-down again and choose Make Unique. I'm doing this because I want to make the background a little darker when the user hovers over the button. So, open the StyleBoxFlat and tweak the color. Since we'll repeat this process for other buttons, let's save this new style as BTN Hover. Before we move on to fixing the other button effects, let's also assign BTN Normal to the focus state. Save and run the game. As you can see, the color change effect works well, but the button text is still white. Let's fix that next. In the Inspector panel, go to Theme Overrides and expand the Colors section. Here, I'm going to change the font color for the focus, pressed, and hover states. I'll set each one to match the background color we've been using. Quick reminder while we're in the middle of things. If you're finding this helpful, go ahead and smash that like button. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Make sure it's set to all, so you don't miss the next part of this series or any future tutorials. All right, let's keep going. Save and run the game again. This time, everything feels good to me. Let's fix the Play Again button effects. Select the button, and in the Inspector panel, go to Theme Overrides and expand the Style section. We've already saved some resources earlier, so let's reuse them here to skip a bunch of repetitive steps. For the focus state, use Quick Load and select the BTN Normal resource. For the hover state, Quick Load BTN Hover. And for the press state, Quick Load BTN Normal again. Save and run the game. As you can see, we're facing the same issue with the text color. The process to fix it is exactly the same, so let's take care of that now. Next refinement we can take care of is styling our input box. Select it, and in the Inspector panel, go to Theme Overrides and expand the Style section. We've already added a StyleBoxFlat for its normal state. Let's save it inside our Resources folder as Line Edit. Now, let's load that style for the focus state. Save and run the game to test the effect. It looks nice, but maybe a little color tweak could make the design shine. Let's make the focus style unique and click on it to expand its options. Change the border color to 0, ed1. Save and run the game again. As you can see, when we click on the input box, its border color changes, but when we type something, the text starts from the left, which isn't the alignment I want. So in the inspector panel, let's set the alignment to center. Also, before I forget, let's change its font to bangers and set the font size to 32. Save and run the game. Everything looks good to me. In the next video, we'll start building the logic and complete our mini game.